You're having a big meeting on Monday, I see.
Yes, a town hall, yes.
Perfect. A Zoom town hall, I assume, or is it going to be in real time, real space as well?
It's going to be both.
Oh, beautiful.
I expect over 500 people, maybe more. People will be there if you want to do it. There's going to be a lot of people there, I think.
Is this going to be in Monterey?
Salinas.
In
Right down
Salinas.
101. Right
Okay.
down 101.
I mean, the depth of the reality of what's going on down there, I think, if I'm correct, you're all just in the middle of it, still trying to assess what levels of physical impact you all are still potentially under, a cloud of mystery and or toxicity or whatever that we don't.
The results that we took, the testing that I did and the results we got, 124 locations between Pescadero and Carmel and in Hollister, pretty clearly show significantly elevated levels in a band between 4 and 8 miles away from the plant, with elevated levels well beyond that. When I say significantly, the outliers like Pescadero and Carmel show perhaps 1/2 to 5 parts per billion in cobalt, nickel, manganese. Got a blank on the fourth one right now. It's been a long couple of months.
Well,
So we tested for those metals, and we found very low levels, which we assumed to be environmental in the far points, but closer to the plant, we saw elevated levels as high as 300, 400, and 500 times what we think is the baseline. And those results have been cross-correlated with Dr. Aiello's numbers, which came from his testing of the slough, which he's been doing for years. And he took a test the week after, and he called me 2 days after we released our results, and he said that our numbers almost exactly correlate with his, even though he used different techniques for his numbers. So we had those numbers now for about the last 3 weeks, and they do show that there are these very high levels. What that means, we're still trying to find out. We're still trying to find people who can interpret. Let me give you an idea what that means. So right now, our numbers are based upon 100 square centimeter wipe that was done in a scientifically valid way. And the real important number is, what is it? It's parts per million in a cubic meter. We're trying to get from the parts per billion on a surface wipe to an extrapolation of what that means in parts per million in a cubic meter. Just 2 days ago, I spoke to folks in Ireland who said that the European Union has a procedure for extrapolating and converting from the sample, the surface sample, to a valid extrapolation of million parts per cubic meter. And with that number, we can actually start to get at the toxicity for life subjected to these numbers. The other thing that's starting to come out through the people looking at our numbers, which is happening not just in this country, but further afield, is that the hexafluorine that came out of the plant, which the EPA said had been destroyed, probably wasn't destroyed. I don't know why they're saying that. I can't guess, but and maybe they're right. But the evidence that's starting to come my way indicates that there was hexafluorine, which may have very rapidly, because of our marine environment, converted over to other derivative acids, one of them being hydrochloric acid. And the burns that we've seen, or the skin irritations, the breathing problems that people are having, the irritation of eyes and nose, all point to the possibility that the HF, as it's called, the hexafluorine, once it hit the marine layer, converted itself into other chemistries, which includes the hydrochloric acid. We don't know if that's true. We haven't done testing for hydrochloric acid. but anybody with ChatGPT can find it. And I've had two big brain scientists say that's possible. The question is dilution, atmospheric conditions, whether or not, it is a significant indicator, a significant impact for people. But I can tell you, guys, that this is hitting mostly people who have immuno issues, people who have bronchial issues, older people. So therefore, it looks like, just as perhaps with COVID, you have certain risk groups that are at higher risk. And so while there may have been a significant dilution in the atmosphere if this occurred, that has made it so that the majority of people who don't have health issues aren't feeling significant impacts other than perhaps being congested, which you don't automatically associate with potentially having these type of environmental impacts from this fire. Those who do have susceptibility because of their underlying health conditions are, it appears, getting hit. The other concern is the fact that the fire burns so hot. And this is, the data I'm getting is that it burned very, very hot, say around 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, over 2,500 degrees Celsius. Under those conditions, the metals that were in those batteries were converted into nanoparticles. Not all of it, but a lot of it became so destroyed. It still existed. It just melted into and was lifted by the heat of this fire as nanoparticles. And they're what they sound like. They're microscopic particles of metal. And when you're talking about things like, can you turn that down a little bit, Lou? When you're talking about things like cobalt and nickel, nanoparticles, from what I'm being told, I'm not an expert, this is what I'm learning from others, are small enough they can get into your lungs, of course, causing some real damage, and into your bloodstream potentially, distributing through your body. So the medium to long-term effects of the nature of this fire, what was in those batteries, what went into the air, all of which happened, are such that it's potentially very toxic. And again, we don't yet have the experts to say, yes, this piece plus this piece plus this piece, which occurred, plus this piece, which is the way that we can interpret what.
Well, I don't know, people. Unfortunately, the SD card that was recording the interview conversation with Brian Roeder